Now who wanna move crossing on? Now who wanna move out on? If you got stripes and you let the city know you rock 'em, yeah we got 'em, yeah we fought 'em. Like that black and orange up on 'em, single bottle, never stop it. To the beast and know 'em. Who they rockin' with the diamond stripes, flossing on the ring. Cincinnati, she's our queen, we gon' show the world.
What's up everybody? This is Ted Karras for the Cincinnati Bengals and the Cincy Hat, and you're watching Bengals and Brews.
Yes, sir. Happy Wednesday, everybody. You are watching Bengals and Brews. This is our summer scouting series continued. We have done quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, if you want to check any of those out. Today, we are talking tight ends. Next week, we're going to talk O-line. Then we're going to see if we can get in some defense at some point. But I love doing these with Newt. Newt, let's start out. Let's tell everybody where to find you. And then I have to spend just a minute talking a little Bengals training camp for my Bengals people.
Sounds good. Well, according to Dale, you can find me literally anywhere on the internet.
Yeah, he's a slut. He's
any draft podcast. I'm just gonna pop around on. If you don't know the joke, check out the OSU podcast on Mrs. Are Relevant. It's a good time. But I've been doing this with Dale for we're over we're hitting the month mark, right?
Yeah. Love it.
I've also been doing kind of my own takes on Owen McCullough's channel on Mrs. Are Relevant. So Mrs. Irrelevant Weekly Huddle podcast, and then I'm also on Mrs. Irrelevant in the fall. So kind of all that's where you can find me. It's definitely kind of been a fun summer to start to work through some of these prospects and have some unique conversations.
Yeah, I love talking football. I love talking draft, as you guys know, and I guess it's because hope always springs eternal. So no matter how my Bengals are doing, hey. They're going to draft guys. These guys might be great. You might get a Joe Burrow, not very often, but, you might get a Jamar Chase. You might, I love talking prospects. You might get a Dylan Fairchild in the third round who's projected to be a starting left guard. So, so training camp started today for the Bengals. Did training camp start for the Packers yet?
Yeah, it started. I think on Monday it started. I'm hyped because Packers are unveiling their throwbacks today. So okay. I'm kind of waiting for that to drop.
Did you see the Browns? The Browns
yeah, Bill put that in the chat, and I guess they're debuting it against the Packers. And he apologized to me, and I'm like, "What are you talking about, man? I get to see the sick Browns throwbacks, and we also get to shit all over you." So it kind of made a ton of sense for that. But no, I think the Browns look really, really cool.
I thought it was cool too. A lot of people are like, "These are awful. The helmet's awful."
Really?
I'm like, I think it looks fine. Yeah, and maybe it's just because Bengals fans hate Browns in general. But I didn't think they looked bad either. Now the Steelers. Did you see the Steelers?
I was just gonna say. I think the only one that we can agree is absolutely awful is the Steelers. In fact,
that one's dog shit. That one is dog shit.
So bad.
Yeah.
And I know that they were trying to go for that textured look. I think so. The one thing I'm looking for with the Packers is there's rumors that they're gonna do a spray styled leather helmet, and so I'm kind of it could go really good or it could go really bad. And I know the Steelers were kind of going for that, but it did not go well.
Yeah, and the whole jersey, everything was bad. I was selling Pork Chop on the show Monday. I was like, "Have you seen those?" And he's like, "No," he's like, "They can't be worse than the Bumblebees." I'm like, "They're kind of like the Bumblebees. They're just pure ass. It's very similar."
It's a vertical Bumblebee. And
it's not good.
So
it doesn't work. No, but we're gonna get into tight ends. Go ahead. You had something else.
I was just gonna say, I'm sure you're hyped for the Bengals. Do the Bengals still have their all white striped ones this year?
Yeah. I don't think any uniforms have changed. They got their orange pants still in the mix, which we'll see. The orange did not go well.
The all white ones I thought were clean. I really like those.
They are. The white out's cool. They did an orange out for the home opener last year, and we lost to the Patriots. So it's you almost just want to burn those, but they might try it again, and we'll see. I'm just one of those. If it doesn't go well, you got to burn them. But I do like the orange pants. I like them with the black jerseys. But yeah, that's our uniform talk for the day. We're going to get into some tight ends. I will say Myles Murphy flashed a little today, and I'm excited. Speaking of draft prospects, nice. I know we're talking tight ends, but this is a guy who's a first-round pick for a reason. So I'm excited to see what Murphy can do. Hendrickson's still holding out, all that stuff. The Browns and the dude wipes things they've been putting out. They're definitely embracing the shit turds. You're right, Austin.
I didn't realize that they had that partnership last year, and I saw it this year, and I was like, that is legendary. As far as like doing once again, hats off to them for like just leaning into it, because man, it is so funny.
Yeah, but yeah, we could sit here and just do this for 40 minutes, just bullshit and have fun and make fun of things. But we'll do that in a rundown when I talk about bad quarterbacks like last week. Let's start with your tight end number 10, guy who isn't my top 10. I like this guy, transferring to Texas from Cal, Jack Endries.
I always got to figure out like where kind of like get that feeling for where they are in you. So like either like aggressively shit on them or like kind of dance.
Or I shit on their quarterback. I shit on their quarterback.
Man, once again, another Cal player that, God, if that offensive line just had like any sort of dignity about them whatsoever, we would have been talking about this Cal team in such a different light because, between Mendoza, it's just it's ridiculous that they have this many draftable players and they were that bad last year. But so Jack Endries, a couple of things I have down about him. I thought he was really versatile. That's kind of the first thing that popped off to me when watching the All-22 is where you see him lined up. I have him down. He had 140 snaps in the backfield, 283 snaps in line, 241 snaps in the slot, all in 2024. That is absolutely ridiculous. If you're looking kind of for a player to go in that H-back role, Endries might be kind of like a premier candidate for you because of a lot of the things that he brings. He's got a decent build to him, 6'4", 240. Maybe you like to see him bulk up a little bit, but I think he's athletic enough and he brings some of those pieces where he can kind of get by outside of that. I thought as a pass catcher, I really, really liked him. Over 90% reception rate. Tough kid. And anytime you have a guy that's playing that many different roles, you have to kind of bring that grit and that mental piece to the game. You're being selfless in that. And I think that's really reflective of the way that he plays. Just kind of, for me, I didn't think he was all that great in run block. Honestly, I probably would have had him a lot higher because I think the things that he does well as a pass catcher and a playmaker are just that good and that dynamic. 75% contested catch percentage, which is, stellar. You want it high, obviously, for tight ends. But for him to be right there, that's a really, really good number to be at. I just thought the run block was really lacking. And for me, I probably dinged him more than most for that, which is why he comes in at number 10 for me. I'm admittedly probably a lot lower, obviously lower than Dale on him. And then I don't think he offers a ton after the catch. I think he's like, hey, what you see is what you get for where he's receiving the ball in the field. And, with that contested catch percentage being so high, I think he struggles with separation a little bit, about 20% contested target percentage. I'm not saying that I expect him to, be single digits, but he's being covered by linebackers. His athleticism, I expect to be just a little bit better than that. So kind of that's the notes that I have on Endries.
And I don't know why you hate him so much, but you could ask me the same thing about the next guy because you're higher on him than I am. I have him at 10, and the Jacks continue. So we got a couple of Jacks. If we're playing Euchre, we're feeling good about it. But Jack
at least you have him ranked. Owen would probably like have him, off his draft board completely, like undraftable player.
I don't think Bill had him in his top 10 either when we did.
He didn't. No,
when I did the show with Bill on Sunday. So 6'5", 246, senior tight end, 8 touchdowns at Oregon State in 2023. Only one last year. So it's like, hey, what the hell happened? But some people love Aiden Childs, and that's the guy that we've talked about on here and talked about on other shows. But I don't think he had the best quarterback play. And hey, the touchdown numbers wasn't there, but guess what was his best production as a tight end? 36 catches, 411 yards last year. Good route runner, can run after the catch, tough, reliable over the middle. and stretches the seam. He's got reliable hands. Another guy, kind of like with injury, I think he could improve as a run blocker. That's a ding I got on him. But I like this kid quite a bit. Him being 10, honestly, not even a knock on him. In my notes, I put, hey, this is a guy who could still be in the mix to be one of the first tight ends drafted. So I do think he's a good player. I just have him at 10 for now. I want to see a little more, and I think Aiden Childs take a step as a quarterback because I won't shit on Aiden Childs. I'll shit on some quarterbacks this episode. But Aiden Childs, I think, can take a step because he's got all the natural athleticism. And if he does, I think that'll help Jack Felling. Jack Felling will move up this list, and he's got a lot of good traits that we like in a tight end. So I know you'll talk about him a little later on, kind of like I will with injuries. So we'll move into your tight end, number 9, which was also not on Bill's list. He is on my list. So I'm not going to shit on him. Oscar Delp.
Nice. So Oscar Delp, player that I looked up a little bit last cycle. He became draft eligible last year. Obviously, you take a look at him in the same room as a Urasek and as Lawson Lucky, who kind of like it felt like they were trying to take a lot of small pieces and replace Brock Bowers. Like you had this one mega player, and they had 3 tight ends in there that, in their own respective way, they kind of offer some things that are a little bit different. So it's not like that, copy paste. But they had this group of like fairly notable names in there, and he was kind of one of those guys. I expected, and I thought kind of he was going to emerge a little bit more last year. He really failed to do so. Lucky flashed at times, and I think Urasek honestly had probably the best year out of the 3 of them, but it wasn't great by any means. So Delp, I'm kind of still holding out hope for. I think that he has the build to be kind of a true inline tight end. I'd love to see him in that role because I do think that he's a fairly, I don't want to say good. He's a adequate blocker in both pass and run, which I don't think necessarily you get the pass portion from some of these guys. I think he kind of brings both of those pieces to his game. I think that with him, he has enough athleticism to be a decent pass catcher, but like a slightly above average is kind of like the words that I go back to describe Oscar Delp. And that's why he's at 9 for me, is just there was a lot of things that I thought were like, okay, or like, all right, that's not that bad. But like he never like stood out or flashed or anything like that. Like even Jack Endries I have written down is like, man, if I'm going to toss up a seam route 20 yards down the field on a post, it's like, hey, like, yeah, let Endries go up and get it. I don't necessarily have that same confidence with Oscar Delp. He didn't have any contested catches last year, literally 0% contested catch percentage. He had a handful of opportunities, but just like not a guy that stood up there. So I think he's built well for the position. I think he's got plus athleticism. I think he has soft hands, and he can be a decent pass catcher. I think he's got like all of the pieces. I just need to see him put it together. And that's why he comes in at number 9 for me.
And he is going to be quite a bit higher on my list. And you keep mentioning Lawson Lucky, also going to be on my list, not on your list. And he
was 11. He was 11 for me.
He is very high on my list. Spoiler alert. Not going to say where, but he's pretty high on my list. And this is the first mention of maybe I'm holding out because their quarterback play and Carson Beck last year was complete dog shit. That's now a running thing that I'm just,
Oh, man.
Quarterback play was dog shit. All right. My number 9 is your number 8. So this one will transition. Yep. We'll both talk about him. It's Luke Halls, transferring to Ole Miss from Arkansas, 6'3", 241. So doesn't necessarily have the best size for a tight end. Doesn't have a single drop in his career. So we talked about that a lot with wide receivers. It's something you like to see. You got good hands. You're reliable. Yeah. We like to see it if you're a pass catcher. And he's definitely a pass catcher. I think he's limited as an inline blocker, partially due to his size, his length, all of those things. But he's had some issues with ball security too, running after the catch. But he's a guy who's a playmaker. And I think with Ole Miss, he's going to have a really good season. So I've got him at 9. This is a guy I've heard some people talk about as like their 1 or 2 entering the season. And I'm like, I don't see that. That's crazy. And now I think that more people are summer scouting on this guy. He is a little lower on their list too, because there's a lot of things that he's got to improve. And I'll let you transition and talk about your tight end 8, which is also Luke Hasz.
I think he's a high floor, low ceiling kind of player. I think, what you see is what you get. The couple things I do like about him, though, and this is like when I say high floor, low ceiling, I'm not trying to shit on the guy, because I think that there's a place for that in the NFL. You come in with maybe like a really comfortable tight end 2, or in a stack room you have a tight end 3. That holy shit, if Luke Hasz is your tight end 3, you're doing well for yourself. I've got him down as a true wide tight end, and I know he can go out and catch the ball, and I know like he has the desire to be a pass catcher. I just think he lacks athleticism, and for me, that's really what makes a ceiling a little bit lower. Is I don't think that he has the movement skills to be like a true slot tight end, and
especially at his size. At his size, he needs to have that. So I agree.
Yep. And he works his ass off. Like if you watch him run routes, he's throwing head fakes in there. He's doing everything, but he doesn't do it quick enough. Like he does not have that short area quickness that you talk about. The one thing I do like about him, and he obviously he's a hard worker if he's building that into his game. He is working to continuously better himself. He's transferring to Ole Miss this year, I believe, after spending time at Arkansas for 2 years. So with that, he's a really good worker. He has a fucking chip on his shoulder. Like this dude, when he goes out there, if he's blocking, he's looking to take someone's head off. If he is open in space and he doesn't get a look towards his way, he's frustrated. He's throwing his hands in there. And I'm not saying I love that. Like I need you to kind of, reel it back, be a team player. But he's got that dog in him. And I think when you're that kind of player, if you are going to succeed, you have to have that mentality. And I like that for Hasz. And if he ever drops that edge, I think it's the worst thing that he could do as a player. But, man, for a guy that's just a scrappy player that's going to maximize everything that he has, but what he has just isn't a ton. I do like him for that. I would definitely think that, there's going to be an NFL team that goes out there that has a tight end 2, tight end 3. They're like, yeah, let's get this guy in the locker room because he's going to push the hell out of every player in front of him.
Well, Ryan Sparks, I'm going to break your heart here. RJ Maryland, not on here. John Michael Gillenborg, not on here. But they are in that best of the rest area. So 11. I have RJ Maryland at 11. Injury ended his 2024 season, but man, great athlete, really good player out of SMU. I just need to see him get back to that level, but he is right there close to my top 10, Ryan. So I'll go ahead and mention this in case, you got things to do. You got to go to the pool again like the other day or whatever you were doing. And John Michael Gillenborg, I have at 14. But I honestly thought he was a lot smaller than when I had Bill Sparks on Sunday. He told me the size, and I was like, holy shit, the guy moves like a wide receiver. So he's very athletic. Wyoming, tight end. I have him at 14 on my list. I like a lot with that guy, and knowing that he's bigger than what he is, he could be another mover up the list. So good names to mention, and, best of the rest, we'll mention them again. But you want to mention anything about them before I get into my 8? Did you watch Maryland or Gillenborg?
Gillenborg, I got a chance to see in the smallest of context last year, and Maryland, no. So, Ryan, I haven't seen either of them enough to put a rating on it. So I'm not saying I hate those guys. I'm just saying I'm ignorant to whatever greatness they may have that you are just clamoring for. So,
well, Ryan is really good
on the Twitter. I don't know yet.
Ryan is really good at mentioning the names that he's like, they're not going to be on this list, and I want to make them look stupid. So I'm going to mention those names. Was this guy? How about this guy, Ryan? What do you think about Justin Jolly? Because not a lot of people talk about this guy. 6'4", 235, so definitely undersized. but played for NC State last year, originally at UConn for 2 years. Contested catchability, he's got it. His numbers was 11 for 13 last season. 11 for 13. That's filthy for a guy, 6'4", 235. He'll go up and get it. Quality route runner, alignment versatile. He's got to improve his blocking technique. Obviously, could add some weight to a frame that has 235 on it at 6'4". But I like a lot with Justin Jolly, and I hadn't seen his name mentioned on any tight end stuff. And the other day I was, watching some more Max Clare, who's going to Ohio State before the Ohio State pod. And I believe it was the PFF guys who had Justin Jolly like at number 3 on their list. So I was like, okay, maybe I'm not completely on an island with this guy. So I felt good that somebody else talked about him. So Ryan, give me your thoughts on Justin Jolly in the chat when you get a chance. And if you didn't watch him, we're going to shame you.
Oh, that's funny. No, I gotta get eyes on Jolly then too. I know that, like, I feel like I go through this with you and I add like 3 names to my list. Like full transparency, I usually get to when I do. This is like for everyone out there. I get to like 11 or 12 guys when I do my list, and it's just like, hey, I want to get like a base. I'm willing to throw them out there, but by no means am I saying that like, yeah, Oscar Delp being 9 for me. Well, Dale will probably fight me on this, but like Oscar Delp being 9 for me is like, he's a for sure top 10 guy. Even though I know, like I said, Dale's gonna have some words to say about that. But Jolly, I
will say, to be fair, there's a lot of these tight ends that I don't feel great about most of them. To be honest,
there's a lot of projection in this class.
Even my number 1, I don't feel great about. So I will say that to anybody that's watching with the tight end class, guys that are in this top 10. They could some of them could go back to school, but some of them could be undrafted guys. And there could be guys that we're not talking about on this list at all that jump up that are the first or second tight end taken. I don't see a Colson Loveland. I don't see a Tyler Warren in this class. So I will say that now before we get into your tight end 7, which is Tanner Koziel, who is finally at Houston after a little smidge of
Wisconsin.
Yeah, a little pit stop there. And was it Ball State before that?
Yeah, he started in Ball State, spent, 3 years in Ball State. He's coming in as a true senior. So, yeah, he must have spent 3 years Ball State. And then he spent 3 months in Wisconsin. He transferred in the winter, transfer portal, transferred out in the spring transfer portal to Houston. Seemed like, I don't know, it was kind of a weird situation. I know he was injured. Fickle didn't have many kind things to say regarding this situation, so I don't really know. It was just it was awkward, like reading all of it, and I was like, you know what? Honestly, I'm not going to be upset just because I'd rather like not even deal with it rather than have something more media attention grabbing later on in the season. But now he's in Houston, and I'm rooting for this guy because I like him because you come from FCS ball, and you like players like this. He's willing to take that step up to the next level. He had, was he, of the guys I watched, of all the guys on my list, he had the highest PFF grade of any of them last year, which, once again, you hope Ball that's State. The case because he's playing FCS ball. Like, he's playing against probably size-wise to him children because the man's 6'7". And
I was about to say 6'7". You can't teach that.
Yeah. So like right away, you gotta love the measurables. You gotta love the fact that when you're at FCS, you got to ball out, and he did. So like sets the bar really well there. So like beyond that, what are the pieces of the game? He maximizes that catch radius. Like you see a guy that has long arms and they don't use it. It's the most frustrating thing in the world. Not Koziel at all. He is going to pluck the ball out of the air. He's got this massive catch radius, and he uses it to his advantage. Stellar in the situation, 65% contested catch percentage. Really, really great concentration at the catch point. And I think he's a really tough player. He's fighting. He's putting his shoulder down, just literally finishing every opportunity. He had a couple opportunities last year even to come around on a jet sweep or take some roles as an H-back. I don't see him as an H-back at the next level, but he made the most of those roles. and really was phenomenal when he had the ball in his hand. For a guy of his size. I'm not saying that like he's
right. Yeah.
Spoiler, like a Terrence Carter. We'll talk about him later. But you know,
I'm excited to hear you talk about him.
That'll be good. But like for his size, like yeah, I love what he brings. He's got a slender build though. You know, he's 6'7", 240. We're talking about other guys on this list, 6'4", 6'3", 240. So he has a slender build to him. I don't love that when you are going to be going up against, you know, larger safeties, linebackers, players of that caliber where you can get knocked around a little bit more. Blocking's inconsistent. You're probably not grabbing this guy because you want him to be an inline blocker. He's going to be your slot tight end. And that's just really what you're going to get out of him. So I think he's a little bit pigeonholed there, which with the way the NFL is going is not a deal breaker in the slightest. And the other thing though is, and we had this conversation, I think last week, he's great in contested catch situations, but he lives in contested catch situations. Yeah. Like
where's the
one third of his targets were contested catch or contested targets. So like, yes, he makes the most of them. And I have a hard time knocking a guy that's like, all right, well, you're still going to catch it. But man, a third of the targets, the separation is just, it's not there. And you'd love to see it. Once again, we're talking at FCS level. And guys get faster, stronger, and more athletic at the FBS. So I'm wondering what's going to happen there. I don't see that contested target percentage dropping. So he's going to have to like prove that, hey, he can continue to do that against those guys. But yeah, that's kind of where Koziel is for me. I think that ultimately he's a player that has a lot to prove this year. But man, if he replicates what he did, he's gonna move up in my rankings. Just because the biggest question mark is, can you do it now? Power 4 football.
Yeah, Terrence Carter is a guy I won't be talking about, Ryan, because I have not watched this guy, but he is on this list.
Whoa! There's a guy that I've watched.
Yeah,
there's a guy I've watched that you haven't.
Not at all. So yeah,
first time for everything.
And you're also going to be able to ask me why I hate this guy, because my number 7 is Joe Royer from Cincinnati. Breakout season with Cincinnati after transferring from Ohio State. Reliable hands, 0 drops. Love to see it. Good size plus route runner. Lacks tons of experience outside of last season. Needs to improve as a run blocker. Like for his size, you would expect him to be a little more nasty. He's just not. I need to see more of that. I think he's very good. I think he had a very good season. I think he's still got a lot of upside. And I think he'll have another good season this year, but I've got him at 7, and maybe it's because I'm a Buckeye homer. Like if Crib's still watching, I know he likes to call me a Buckeye homer. Maybe it's because he's not a Buckeye anymore, Crib. Maybe that's why I have him at 7 and I hate him. That's why I hate you, Joe Royer. And
I wonder who tight end 1's going to be.
I don't know, but you're number 6. It's Kenyon Sadiq. And why do you hate why do you hate Kenyon Sadiq? God. Is what I need to know. So this one pivots right into each other.
That answered my question.
It answered. It did.
So Sadiq, I don't hate Sadiq. I need to see him do it like at a starter level. Like T. Ferg was there last year. He was the guy. He took the snaps. Sadiq for him. God, and I got to look it up right now. But he really did not play all that much. Which I mean, you don't expect him to when you have what did T. Ferg get drafted in the 4th round?
2nd.
Oh shit, was he 2nd round?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was the 2nd round.
All right, so like even more points to that. So Kenyon Sadiq played 350 snaps last year, which like fairly impressive kind of in that mindset. He was definitely tight end 2, but he was not the feature tight end of the receiving game. That's definitely going to be T. Ferg. He had 27 targets. A lot of those came when they were up. 4 targets against Idaho, 4 targets against UCLA, 4 targets against Purdue. He had 0 against Ohio State, 0 against
Two touchdowns against Penn
Wisconsin.
State. Stop hating Kenyon Sadiq. Stop hating him.
Like, He
Did you
had
see him hurdle that guy against Penn State? Do you know
he
how
had a
athletic
hell of
this
a
man
play.
is?
He had a hell of a play against Penn State in the conference championship. But like, and here's like all of this to say, I think that Kenyon Sadiq put out what was like more than adequate film last year. He needs to step in now, be tight end 1, and like prove he can do that. Like that's what I need him to do.
I agree. And I spoiler alert, do have him as my tight end 1. The flashes are special. He's a great athlete. I do have concerns about the size and what the actual size is, but I'll talk about him when we get to 1, but I won't go too in depth because Newt got a lot of that. And also I hate Eli Stowers. Vanderbilt, 6'4", 235, my tight end number 6. And here's the thing. I have him as my tight end 6. I thought he could have been a day 2 pick if he came out this past season. Like, I thought he could have been a 3rd-round guy. He's going to be one of those good options for a move tight end. Versus Alabama. That's the game you want to go watch. 6 catches, 113 yards when they beat Alabama, which I love to see personally. Because I'm not a Roll Tide guy. I'm a Buckeye fan. Reliable weapon in the passing game. He forces missed tackles after the catch. He was a former quarterback at one point. So, like the football IQ, the knowledge he has, there's a lot to like with Eli Stowers as a move piece. I do think just being a little undersized, not going to be your inline blocker, not going to do a lot of the natural tight end things, a little lower for me. But even at this range, I'm still as my tight end 6, as with a lot of these guys on this list, they could go anywhere. But I fully expect him to once again be a day 2 pick like he would have been this past season. And a guy I hated because I had him at 10, you have at 5, and that's Jack Velling.
Yeah, we can't agree on anyone here. I think there'll be probably one guy that we agree on. Well, I guess we agreed on Haas, and then there's going to be one more player that we'll agree on.
A lot of guys are still on both of our boards, and like you had Koziel at 7. I had him at 12. It's not like it was crazy. I love the height. I want to see it at a bigger level. It's just I don't think we're too far off on thoughts on some of these guys.
No. Well, so I'm just trying to think. You got Dell. Okay, no, yep. So you've got.
Oh yeah,
Dell.
you're trying to figure mine out.
I got it now. We're good. We're good. I think I know where we're at.
Okay.
Maybe. So Jack Velling, I think Dale. I think you did a really good job of hitting nail on the head for realistically all of those things. And it goes back to some of the things I talked about with Haas. I think that Velling, he's got that mentality, he's got that attitude. I think he's a little bit better of an athlete, and I think when you factor that into his game and the way that he plays, it just kind of like puts him up there a little bit higher for me. Now, once again, I think that you are not going to get like a superstar out of Jack Velling, but I think he's got a really good opportunity to be a really reliable, versatile tight end in a room. I think he can play the Y. I think he can play out the slot. Do
you see him as a tight end 1? And maybe that's part of it for me. That I don't know that I think he's ever going to be a tight end 1. And that's
I don't. I truth be told, I probably do not see him as a tight end 1. And if it was a tight end 1, it would be. I'm not trying to like have anyone catch any strays here. I think that he could be a good tight end 2, and I'm not saying like Isaiah likely tight end 2. But I'm saying like I'm trying to think who is. I'm gonna spend too much time with this. I think if you are a team that runs a lot of 12 or you run
to get your value out of him.
Yeah, I think Velling is the kind of guy that you want because he can do a lot of things for you. He's athletic enough where you're not worrying about him as a liability in certain situations. And he's just got that, once again, he's got that mentality. He's got that work ethic that you absolutely gravitate to. And sometimes, that is going to be, maybe not as valuable, but close to as valuable as what you'd get from a performance on the field. Now, you said it. He needs to be more technical with his blocking. I didn't see his blocking, it sounds like, as bad as you did, but he definitely needs to be more technical with it, better with his hand placement. He needs to continue to run through those a little bit better. He's got a slow release off the line. I don't know. Like, I think his movement skills are a little bit above average, but like his just explosion is like lost. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
We
he's not explosive.
He's
got better speed when he gets up to speed, but he's not explosive.
Correct. Absolutely. And I have that. That was literally my next bullet point. Speed's build up. Like, I think he's got adequate speed for the tight end position, but it is definitely build up. So I think I liked his floor a lot, which is why he ended up as my tight end 5. He's a kind of guy where, I talk about Sadiq's got a huge opportunity to rise. Koizil's got a huge opportunity to rise. I don't think Velling's got like a huge opportunity to rise, but like I don't see him having an opportunity to fall necessarily. Like, he might fall in my rankings because guys pop ahead of him, but I don't know how much my evaluation of him is going to change.
This position is literally opposite of everything I've done with almost every other position, where I've went safer, production for the most part. Like, I've went safer, and like Velling, I feel like would have been safer, but that's how I feel about the tight ends in general. Even Stower's like safer because I've seen, Velling, 8 touchdowns 2 years ago, like another good season at Michigan State with subpar quarterback play the first half of the season. And I think better the second half.
Velling, I think, gives you a safe, kind of overall tight end. Stowers gives you a safe pass catching tight end. Haas gives you a safe run blocking tight end. But like, to your point, like, those
it's
guys
just a weird class. It's a weird class.
Yep, it is.
It is. I don't love this tight end class. I've got 5. I've got injuries. So we switched up the jacks. You had one jack at 10. I had that jack at 5. You had one jack at 10. We flipped it up. But 6'4", 240. And this is one thing. Like, I think Velling is not special in any one area. And I think injuries is as a pass catcher.
Yep. Totally agree.
Now, blocking wise, this is not your guy. I don't even think he can develop to pretend to be that guy.
No.
I think he is just the high-end move piece, as you talked about when you talked about him. But I'm putting him this high because I think he's very good in that one role. And he was a former walk-on, so the work ethic's there. A lot of things I like with him. And he's got Arch at quarterback this year. I think that's huge. Finds the soft spots against zone coverage. He had 350 yards against after the catch. So there's a lot I like with Jack Endries. And going from Cal, I know they have Mendoza, who we like, but going from Cal to Texas, who's got all these dogs on the outside, I think he's going to eat even more because Cal did not have those guys at wide receiver. So I like Jack Endries, and I think he's going to have another highly productive season. And when he does it at Texas, he's at least going to get to this top 5 area. So I guess it's a projection a little bit for me. And I understand the blocking's not going to be there. But it wasn't there for – not last year with him, but who was the year before? The tight end.
Ours?
I ended up going, I think, to the Panthers.
Oh, you're talking about the guy from Texas.
Yeah. 2 years ago. Because I think he's more of like a receiver like him than anything.
Why can't I remember his name?
I know, I'm blanking on it too, and I really liked him. I liked him more than the NFL, and I liked him more than a lot of people. He's like my tight end too. But I'm blanking on it, and that's how good of a season he had last year.
Yeah.
But no.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, though.
But I do like Jack Endries quite a bit. Now, if Ryan Sparks is still listening, Terrence Carter, and I'm listening, you got to tell me about Terrence Carter.
So, I'm going to tell you right now, Terrence Carter is a H-back, like through and through. He is 6'2", if that, 232 pounds. The guy is...
Sorry. How big was he?
6'2", 232 pounds.
32. All right. No, before you continue, I know why Ryan likes him.
Who's the little guy?
Harold Fannin, small school. Yeah, it's all coming together for me now. But no, continue on to and Harold Fannin still has a chance to be fantastic. I do like Harold
Absolutely. Fannin. So he is going to Texas Tech this year. So Lafayette for 3 seasons, and then Texas Tech ahead of the 2025 season. With him, he is, I mean, it's H-back written all over just because of that size. But holy shit, is this guy electric. If you take a look at him in terms of like what he can do with the ball in his hands, what he can do as a route runner, I mean, it's kind of everything you want. Like he's almost built like an oversized running back, and he almost moves kind of in that role. So I've got written down, he's a gifted athlete, solid frame. He's, I mean, jacked up. Best separator in this tight end class, moves like a wide receiver, in my opinion. Great speed to challenge all 3 levels, and he's phenomenal with the ball in his hands. You take a look at the numbers. He's 0.38 missed tackles forced per reception, 8.4 yards after contact per reception. I mean, like, just like dynamic as a playmaker. Now, the things that are going to hurt him is going to be the size. He's a shorter build, 5th percentile for the tight end position. That's why I really don't see this, him living as even a slot player, maybe. But when you're a slot player, you have to be, all that much more dynamic in terms of your short area quickness because you're living in the middle of the field. Maybe he can find a role there, but I think he can be kind of like a unique gadget for a lot of different teams there. He played against lower competition. We talked about that with Koiziel, and then inconsistent as a blocker, which is going to be one thing he's going to have to clean up if he is going to play that like fullback type role. Otherwise, he's probably going to be designated to like a unique, pass catcher in a room, or maybe you like him as a tight end too because you have just a absolute stud for an inline tight end. Maybe I don't know. I think of like a, Pittsburgh with Darnell Washington. They have a guy like that who's lives as basically a 6 offensive lineman. And then can you get the yin to your yang? But I just think the things that he does as a pass catcher, as a ball carrier are just so incredibly impressive. That's why I had to have him up here at 4 for me.
My 4 is a guy that you hated, and that was Oscar Delp. And listen, I don't even love him either. I have him at 4 because I'm still – it's a lot of hope. It's a lot of, hey, is he going to live up to that hype that he did not live up to last year, period, point blank at Georgia. 6'5", 245. He just didn't take that step, but he's alignment versatile, reliable hands, career 3.8 drop rate. So that's a positive for him. He's got some run after the catch ability. You mentioned he's got to improve in contested catch opportunities. None last year, but for his entire career, 12.5%.
Yeah.
It's just not good enough, He's had ball security issues. He's got to get better at as a blocker. And I just need to see him actually produce. So as much that I have him at 4, it's a pure
What'd you like about him? You spent a minute shitting on him.
Good hands, reliable, versatile, good hands, and he's a good athlete. I think if they can put it all together, the athleticism at tight end.
Okay.
Maybe it's the Georgia uniform. It's the Brock Bowers. It's part of that. I'm going to be honest. It's summer scouting, and I'm just riding the high of this guy was supposed to be good. What the hell isn't he good? I agree more with you that he's probably tight end 9. I also hate Oscar Delp. I hate him. Okay. Our tight end 3, I don't hate. We have a mutual. It is Max Clare transferring to Ohio State. Homer alert for me, Crip, from Purdue, though.
No, I'm not gonna lie. I was expecting him to be 1. Just you factor in the homer, you factor in the fact that I'm honest to God upset that Max Clare is not my tight end 1 because I really do like Max Clare. Do you want to talk about him first? Like, I feel like I'm still in your thunder with him being an Ohio State guy now.
I don't know. I mean, it's whatever. I can talk about him. 6'4", 240, redshirt junior. The production, obviously, Purdue, their quarterback sucked ass. You talk about a quarterback that sucks ass. Their quarterback was ass. Their whole team was ass. And this guy still had 51 catches, 685 yards, 4 touchdowns. Can stretch the seam. He's alignment versatile, run after catch ability, athlete. I think he was out of St. X here in Ohio, and he played some quarterback. He was a return man. So he is just a freak athlete at the position. He did have 5 drops, needs to continue improving as a blocker.
Yep.
Contested catch numbers were mediocre, 5'4", 11. But the body control, just everything he can do down the seam, the athleticism, he's trending upward. I don't know how many opportunities he's going to get at Ohio State, but they'd be crazy with Julian saying as a first-time quarterback not to just go to this guy over and over again and let him make plays after the catch. So I really like Max Clare. What are your thoughts on him? He's both of our tight end threes.
Yeah, I think I mentioned functional praise strength right now. Obviously, with him coming into his true junior year, that can be something that continues to improve. He's still a young player. I think he does need to improve that, especially when it comes to blocking situations. I'd like to see that a little bit better. I wrote down the drops. But no, I mean, everything you have written down is great. I think he's phenomenal with the ball in his hand. Like, maybe the numbers don't show it, and maybe that's because I think it might be more flash than production. Like 6.6 yards after catch per reception. Okay, that's pretty good. 0.16 missed tackles forced per reception. That's like not bad, but there are guys in this class that easily surpass that. For me, I think that like you can just very clearly see the athleticism and the opportunities that can come from that. I think that also he was probably the best player on the field for that Purdue team last year, and it didn't afford him any luxury as a playmaker. So I wrote down, I think he is absolutely able to take advantage of one-on-one opportunities in open space, and I think he's going to get more of those this year, and I think you'll see kind of a benefit from that. So I really like Max Clare. I think that him rising above and being a high point in a really tough system last year is something that is great to see, but also I need to see him now go and be that dude at Ohio State. And if he can do that, I think I'm easily talking about a guy that's probably tight end 1. If he can just like match that production when the lights are at their absolute brightest.
Yeah, he's got a good chance to end up tight end 1. It's a safe spot to put him at 3, and we'll see if the production continues at Ohio State. And I'd like to see, Mickey Mariota has been a guy who changes dudes' bodies from when they enter the program. So I would like to see if he can add, 5-10 pounds, still be that same athlete, improve as a blocker, because they're going to ask him to block. It's just how Ohio State does. So I keep him here just because I want to see how he does at Ohio State. But we'll get into your 2, who was a guy lower on my list because I hated him, and that's Eli Stowers from Vanderbilt.
Yeah, let me just read this guy's path to where he is right now. So he played high school. Obviously played high school football. He was a quarterback, as you mentioned. Track and field, he was a high jump state champion. So this guy has athlete written all over him. He then started his career at Texas A&M University as a reserve quarterback. And I think by that language, it means he was not on an active roster, but he was part of like the program and the practices. As a quarterback prospect out of high school, he was still a 4-star recruit. Like, there was at no point this guy being ever looked down upon. But then he transferred to New Mexico State University, and he transitioned into a tight end. And then things just kind of started rolling for him. He was All-Conference USA in 2023, honorable mention. He's a Mackey Award semifinalist in 2024. Made Bruce Feldman's Freak List in 2024. And, he was first team All SEC.
That's good.
In 2024. I think that's a decent accolade to have under your belt. I don't know if you've heard of the SEC. They put out good players every now and then.
Sometimes.
But the athleticism is going to be, you know, what pops him up here. I think the conversation is really easy to have. You know, why is Endries at 9 for me, 10 for me? Why is Endries at 10 for me and Stowers at 2 for me? And it's going to be that athleticism. I think Stowers is maybe a little bit better. No, he's actually, Endries is really bad at blocking. Stowers is a lot better at Endries at blocking, but he's not a blocker. You're not getting him to be an inline tight end. He's going to do an okay job, but he's really not going to stand out in that. If you put him in line, you're not going to get good production out of him. He is a pass catcher. He's a slot tight end all day long. But the athleticism that he brings to that position is just so apparent. He's really good with the ball in his hands after a catch. 0.26 missed tackles forced, 7.5 yards after catch per reception. So, like, man, it's like the things that you want, he puts them all together for that true pass catching tight end. I think that what drove me down, and part of this was outside of his hands in 2024 in 13 games. Like, as I'm not going to say the best player on Vandy, but one of the best players on Vandy, he played less than 500 snaps, which it's odd to me to see that number. Like, I would expect this guy to be a 700 snap kind of player. Now, I don't know why that's the case. Kind of an odd thing for me to look at. So just curious there. He is later for the position. And then, as I mentioned, he's not an ideal blocker. You're not getting him to be an ideal blocker. You're getting him because of what he brings in the receiving game.
My tight end too is Lawson Lucky, which is probably crazy. But once again, the tight end class, I'm going on traits. I'm going on upside. I'm going on guys that I think can be really good in the future. Now, he may not be a guy who comes out till 2027 because he's only going to be a junior this season. But I thought he played better than Oscar Delp, who I had at 4, and maybe that's all on hope and projection with him. But Lucky at 2, 6'4", 240, strong hands, 0 drops last season. So once again, I love that. He's a good route runner. He's tough, dependable over the middle. This guy will take a hit and not think twice, pop right back up. So even though he's listed at 240, it doesn't seem to be a problem at all. He was 0 for 7 on contested catches. Once again, I'm not even going to blame him or Oscar Delp because that Carson Beck guy, he sucked. He was ass last season. So how many of those contested catches were actually even catchable? Probably not very many, to be fair, to Lawson Lucky. I think there's just a lot of room for this guy to continue growing. He could be better blocking at the point of attack, but I think he's got some ability to be a blocker, and he's shown some ability there. I think he's only going to get better going into this season, and I expect him, if Oscar Delp struggles at all, Oscar Delp goes far down the list from being top 10, and Lucky stays up here. So I've got both of them up here because I expect Georgia to get their tight ends involved and use their tight ends with Gunnar Stockton as the quarterback. So that's part of this. I think one of those tight ends will emerge, and I'm going to bet more on Lawson Lucky emerging and being the better player. And whether he's in this draft class or the next, I think he's the guy who be one of the top tight ends off the board whenever he decides to come out. So that's why I have Lawson Lucky as my tight end too. Let me
just pop in on him because I did get a chance to watch him. I think, and you painted the picture really well before talking about, you know, projection and like ceiling versus safe players and how kind of for this tight end class, me and you are definitely a little bit different. The highs of Lucky are very high. Like all you have to do is turn on the Bama game and you'll see it's like, I remember watching, I was like, who the fuck is this guy? Like I know the 2 Alabama tight ends and he's not one of them. Like I had to go look it up after watching the Bama Georgia game. His big splash plays are incredible. He also has like the lows that go with that. I think Delp was a lot more consistent throughout the year. I'm not saying that Delp was stellar in my opinion, but I think Delp was more consistent throughout the year, which is why I had him higher. But like you talk about from a potential side, I think that Lucky, if he can figure that out, definitely does have an opportunity to be a much bigger riser than Delp.
Yeah, and I'll go ahead and go with my tight end one because it kind of goes right with Lawson Lucky of potential. I know you had him lower, and I disagree for why. He's listed at 6'3", 245. It's Kenyon Sadiq out of Oregon. Very good athlete, elusive after the catch, solid production, but he's going to be featured a lot more this season with Ferguson off to the NFL. My biggest question is, what is his actual size? Is this guy 6'2", 230? Because he doesn't look that big. And then if you got a guy 6'2", 230, where does he play? And even though I have him as tight end one, because I'm like, well, you can still get him the ball. Like even with Stowers, Stowers would be a little bigger, but I would see him in that mold of an Eli Stowers to where you can move around, you can get him the ball. I think he's maybe even a little bit better of an athlete than him overall. But is that a guy that you've got to try to make a slot wide receiver? And at that point, I don't think he's going to have that speed. He might run a 4.5, a 4.6. Me and Bill Sparks talked about that on Sunday. That's not good for a wide receiver. That's great for a tight end. But if you're 6'2", 230, you're at the size of a slot wide receiver. So, but there's just a lot I like with him. I like the upside. And he is a pretty good blocker, regardless of if it's 6'3", 245, if it's 6'2", 230. He's a pretty good blocker for a guy his size.
Yeah. Oh God, he's a great blocker for a guy his size.
He's got that dog in him, as the kids say, and he's willing to put in the effort. And I think being a pretty good blocker, along with his athleticism, his upside, it just his natural ability as a pass catcher. I think he's going to have a huge season for Oregon. It's a big projection to have it as a tight end one in this class, but it's summer scouting, and I believe in this kid. He's also only going to be a junior, so it may not be till 2027, just like Lawson Lucky. But in a class that I just thought there's no surefire number one, I'm going to throw a couple darts here at my top two of guys that I think could really have huge seasons at tight end and skyrocket up the board. But I will self-admit they are a little bit of dart throws, especially compared to how I rank players. But I like the flashes that I've seen from both of them.
Love it.
So I will let you get to your tight end one. A guy I absolutely hated. I hated him. I had him at 7. I think he's trash. He's at the University of Cincinnati. He knows some Bearcats. He's dog shit. There's some Bearcats fans listening. This guy's dog shit, but he is Newt. Tight end number 1, it's Joe Royer. I don't think he's dog shit. I'm sorry, Joe Royer. I don't think you're dog shit.
No, God, I think that I don't know. There's like a couple. Do you have a couple, like obviously Ohio State aside, do you have a couple universities out there that you feel like you gravitate towards for like players? No, I'm not talking like big.
For tight ends?
No, like players in general, like not like the Bamas or the Georgias of the world, but is there like a university out there where you're like, oh, I really like players that come from there?
I don't know. Cincinnati one for you? Is that what you're trying to say?
Because it is like Iowa, and I hate myself, but Iowa, like
I was going to say tight. I thought you were just talking strictly tight end.
No, I'm talking like
Madison Estrenga, Iowa tight end. Like that's a guy to watch. Wisconsin for tight ends is pretty good.
No, but I'm talking like players in general. Like I love players that come from Iowa. I just think they're built different, and I love players that come from the University of Cincinnati.
Low key, the last couple seasons won, and I know they went to the playoffs, but SMU. I feel like is really developing like some, especially like trenches, and they had a good running back last year, running back / receiver. That transfer from Miami, but they're getting a lot of good transfers, and I feel like they're on the come up. And SMU is a school. The last 2 cycles specifically that I've been like a lot of players that really have me intrigued from.
So like all that to say, like Cincinnati, I feel like anytime I see a player and it's like a Cincy player, I'm like, okay, like you already have like a little bit of an extra check mark for me because I like historically know that I like the caliber of players. I think it's something about that system that does a really good job of breeding quality humans and quality athletes. And so I think with Royer,
is this who you're talking about, Luke Kandra?
Oh, my boy, like easily my boy. But there were a couple others last year from Cincy. It's still absolutely ridiculous that man did not get drafted. Russo's calling me out for just flagging here.
Playing the whole crowd here on a Cincy podcast.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm just trying to get followers out of this. I just sled around so I can get
It's true.
Get followers.
This little slut goes from podcast to podcast with a new number one in every city.
We go on Heathers and say it's Max Clare. I'm gonna go on Owens and find some guy from Buffalo, put him up there. No, all right. Joe Royer. If you take a look at Joe Royer, he is the most well-rounded. He is the best well-rounded tight end in this class, in my opinion, obviously. We talk about Sowers and we talk about the things that he can do. We talk about Claire. We talk about the things that he can do. For you, like you talk about injuries and like the things that he brings to the table. They're all very one-dimensional because they're all pass-catching tight ends. And we've said, from the beginning, like the NFL is going in that way. And it's not, if you're going to have, one skill set of yours shine, definitely have it be like the ability to catch passes. Royer can be an effective pass catcher. Over 50% contested catch percentage, less than 20% contested target percentage means he catches those balls, but he actually is a decent separator. Like to see that there. He's got a 0.2 missed tackles forced per attempt. Means he is pretty good with the ball in his hands for a tight end. But all of these are like him as a receiver, which is a pretty good above average receiver. On top of that, this guy's an ass kicker as a blocker. Like I really, really like his blocking. He needs to be a little bit more aggressive and decisive in run blocking, especially when he's pulling out and being a lead blocker. You said that, and I 100% agree with that. And I think that's more of a mentality. I don't think it's a physical thing. Like he has the ability, like on top of everything else, he also has like the frame to do this. He has the best build in this class. 6'5", 255. That's what I want my tight end to be built as.
Especially if they can catch passes the way he does at that size.
At that size, if you're a pass catcher, number one, like you're a punching bag that's moving quickly through the middle of a defense that is, just dense and challenging to bring down. So the size, the pass catching, yes, I do want him to be better as a lead blocker, but I don't think that he lacks the tools to do that. I think he just has to improve technique. He has to, figure out mentally, how do I approach if I am ripping around the end, pulling to the other side, an outside linebacker that is trying to make a play on this ball. If you can figure that out, or if you can figure out getting to the second level and just using his hands a little bit better, that's it. I like, he is a good blocker with a good understanding of blocking concepts when he's in the trenches. It's when he gets on space that he needs to improve, but I don't think it's a piece of him not being able to, just him not being able to do it quite yet. So you take the pass catching, you take the blocking, you take the size, you take the athleticism at that size, because this guy's not a bad athlete. Like I'm not saying he's an Eli Stowers athlete. I'm not saying he's a Terrence Carter athlete, but he's an above average athlete with size and with a dual facet of his game. Like you put all of those things together and he's tight end one for me. Now, a caveat on this, he's not the tight end one that Colson Loveland was last year in summer scouting. He's not the tight end one that obviously that Brock Bowers was 2 years ago in summer scouting. He's not the tight end one that you see kind of like repeatedly throughout the cycle when you hear these sexy names in the first rounds. The TJ Hawkinsons, the Kyle Pitts, like all of these guys that have had that first round buzz. I don't think Joe Royer is a first round talent. Like I just don't. I don't think there's anyone in this class, as we sit here today, that is a true first round talent. But I think the message that we've been kind of giving is there's a lot of guys that have an opportunity to flash and to really move up. There are a couple safe picks on here. Like I said, in my opinion, Belling and Haas are very safe picks. I don't see those guys, going up or down a ton, because I think what you see is what you get from them. Delp stands to be seen. But like with that, I think that hopefully someone can kind of elevate themselves through whatever means. And I'm not saying this like now trash on Joe Royer. He's my tight end one for the reasons I laid out, but like he's not a tight end one like we had last year or the year before. So
I think you're spot on. I think that's spot on. It's a great explanation, and it's the reason that I had a couple dart throws of guys that I think maybe have the potential to eventually, and I even said maybe it's 2027 to be, a Loveland or Pitt. And there's size limitation. There's different things with some of the guys. Lucky, I would feel more comfortable that he could jump up there for that. But Sadiq, I mean, the athleticism, the things I like. But yeah, I did dart throws, and you have a number one who is a very solid guy who at worst would have probably went day 2 last year. I think he would have been a second, third round at worst last year. There was guys, he got a job at Oklahoma now, Senior Bowl. Why am I blanking on his name? Jim Nagy loved Joe Royer last season and was like, I think he's a potential sneaky second round top 50 type guy.
And I think that it's interesting last year, like that second cut all of a sudden got really deep. Like obviously you get your big 2 at the top with Tyler Warren and Colson Loveland.
Yeah.
But then you get your Harold Fannin, your Mason Taylor, your God who came out of Miami. I already forget names.
Elijah Arroyo.
Yeah, Elijah Arroyo, your T. Ferg. And like, I think you start to roll all those names together. It was actually kind of a thick class in that like 50 to 100 range, where I wonder if that's the reason that Royer ultimately decided to come back, because he knew he wasn't a first round talent. With how crowded it was, he's like, maybe I can really project myself up here to be, in that first cut of guys or earlier in that second cut of guys.
Yeah, he may have literally went to the future and been like, Newt is going to put me as his tight end 1 in summer scouting on Bengals and Brews. I go back to school. And otherwise, I'm just going to be a guy that could slide to early 4th round, even though I have second round talent. So that's why he came back. Yep. I will mention some names in our rip 'em off list. And if you got any, I'll let you.
The rip 'em off list, the classic rip 'em off list.
SMU. So another guy. RJ Maryland, SMU. I like this guy. I like him a lot. I liked him in summer scouting last year. And then if he didn't have that injury, I think he would be a guy easily in my top 10. I got to see how he's back off that injury. But, man, he was a vocal point of that offense as a pass catcher for them 2 years ago and even into last season. And I expect him to do that again this season. I had Kozio at 12, who you also had on your list. So we've talked about him. Daquan Wright, I believe that's another Ole Miss guy. I don't have that down, but I'm pretty sure. Great. Probably a better blocker than Halls, but I like Daquan Wright. John Michael Gillenborg, the athletic pass catcher from Wyoming. Sam Roush from Stanford, physical runner after the catch. Brett Norfleet, who was Bill Sparks, tight end 1 from Missouri. He's 6'7". Good straight line speed. I like Norfleet, but I'm like, holy projection. So my list, I didn't even feel like projecting too much when he picked Norfleet number 1. And I love Bill Sparks, but wow.
He's 6'7". So we talked about Koziel, 6'7", 240. Yeah. Norfleet's 6'7", 235.
Yeah. So, I'm like, how do you have him at 1? This guy is a freaking literal beanpole, brother.
Oh, man.
Love Bill Sparks. Gabe Burkle. Iowa State, good catch radius, high football IQ, and Ryan Sparks misses Ostrenga from Iowa, who's also in Sparks' list. I have him at 18 also. So Stoffel, I don't have or haven't watched, so you may have to educate me on him. Jack Peterson, physical player, UCLA. Riley Williams, hoping a breakout. This is a Miami, Florida guy. So he's got big playability, has flashed here and there, but with Arroyo gone, does he fill those shoes? So that's the guys I've watched. And then there's guys that I need to add that I haven't watched yet to put a grade on. Eli Raridan from Notre Dame. I've watched, Notre Dame. I've seen him, but I haven't watched enough of him specifically to put him in the guide or anything. Kitzelman is a guy from Tennessee who was mentioned earlier by our guy Anthony, and like Blake Bozma, Jeremiah Franklin, Brady Hunt, Lake McCree, USC, Keon Burnett, Hayden Stoss, Josh Caddis, Kentucky, Tanner Arkin, Josh Suevos. Then I've got a bunch of 2027 guys: Reed Harris, Benjamin Brahmer, Dylan Reed, Jake Johnson, Jaleel Skinner, Hayden Hanson, Olsen, Pat Henry from Clemson, Tucker Ashcraft, and Josh Sapp. So just to mention names, do you have any names or anybody you want to talk about? Because that's just on my list. And
so obviously, like the Estrenja for me, like I want to get to him. I've got down Gillenberg because I want to get him. And then obviously now that you had RJ Maryland, there was a shout out by Sparks for RJ Maryland. Did you ever mention Trey Lechner?
No, is that another Georgia guy? Where's
no,
he at?
Because
I hear the name,
State?
but Washington State. I knew I heard the name, but no, I haven't, and I'll add that name to my list.
I didn't like full train. I didn't watch him at all. Washington State. I think he was either injured last year or he was like a really limited backup, and like he had practically no snaps. And I wanted to because I saw his name pop up on like mock draft database at like a really high guy, and I'm like all right, like if people are putting him as a top 3, I kind of want to see why. But then I looked on PFF, and just like the number of snaps was so low that I dedicated my time towards a different player. But he was kind of one that was intriguing to me. I think Bill Sparks was higher on Lechner as well, but he's a redshirt sophomore. Okay, so Ryan Sparks, not to be confused with Bill Sparks, no relation. Has him on his watch list. But he's got 6'3", 227. So we talk about itty bitty tight ends, and I thought Terrence Carter 6'2", 232 was kind of like pushing the boundary. 6'3", but 227 is that's wide receiver numbers right there. So we shall see. But he was a player that I know I saw, and I kind of want to get eyes on him. I want to see, what the hype was about. As a redshirt sophomore, I don't think, unless he has a true,
breakout
award year, like I don't see him coming out. So I think he's really more of a 2027 guy anyways. But he was one that intrigued me that hadn't been mentioned.
Yeah, which is that's the thing. And that's why I'll just put 2027 for some of these because, I'm just putting them in that bucket. I can't get to literally everyone. If someone can do that, they should be getting paid a lot of money. But that's the fun part. And that's the fun part about the Draft Professor and the Misses Are Relevant stuff is that we all get to meet each other. We all get to compare notes. We get to have fun, do stuff like this. And add guys to our list that it's okay, you got eyes on him and you feel good about this guy. I need to get eyes on him and check him out and see what the hype is about. And It's a great way to cover players because there's no way to watch every single player in FBS and FCS. And there's always going to be guys. But I enjoy this.
And you really can't and I think what I found too, and to the point that you're making, especially with a lot of stuff with Draft Professor, it's kind of like a little community there where, you can go to Draft Buzz, you can go to Mock Draft Database, and it's all right, you got to trust in kind of whatever sources but you toss a question out hey, hit me up with give me 3 linebackers that I absolutely must watch, and you get some minds that you trust the absolute hell out of, and you're all right, man, if you're saying this. And just glaze a couple of guys, Anthony Russo saying I have to watch these guys. Randall Stifler is saying I have to watch these guys. Bill Sparks or Ryan Sparks are saying I have to watch these guys. That goes a really, really long way. It's kind of a cool way of interacting and building some of those pieces to start to see hey, who are some of those risers going to be? Who are some of the guys I absolutely have to get eyes on?
Yeah, and that's what I do with the draft guide is so I'll just have a list of names and it's I try to get some eyes on them, and I try to go to snap counts, and I then get eyes on them. So some guys I'll just filter through because I'm like, they didn't even play last season, and it'll be through like NFL mock draft database to get a list to start with, and I'll be like, well, this guy didn't play. This is a pure there's nothing for me to watch, so I'm just gonna dump them into the next season once I check their eligibility. So that's kind of how I do it for anybody that does it, and then. What I put in the draft guide's like I've at least put eyes on them, tried to watch a game or two of them, especially when you do it a month after the draft has ended. And then you spend this whole summer cycle doing shows like this, talking, putting more eyes on them. You feel more confident when you're talking about these guys, but there's still more guys to mention. And it's fun and I enjoy it. And I know Newt enjoys it because this little slut goes around from podcast to podcast talking about it. But I appreciate anybody that has tuned in. This has been a very fun show. We're going to try to get to O-lineman next week. That should be fun. But Newt, tell everybody where they can find you as we end this one, brother.
Absolutely. So the tag on the screen at NFL Draft _Weston. Find me on Twitter at that handle. Aside from that, I run zerotechdraft.com. That's where I have my spreadsheet with literally all of my players' notes on them, my process, my methodology, everything on there. So if you want to go back and take a look at any of the notes for any of the players I talked about today, I'm reading off of that and kind of regurgitating that there. So if you want to check it out, it's linked on there. It's also linked on my Twitter. Appreciate anyone willing to follow along with that. Check it out. You can find me next week here, as Dale mentioned, and hopefully
now you got to watch Taran Tayo.
He's on my list. I didn't watch him the first go through. He is on my list.
Ryan keeps telling – I got such a big list already, Ryan, but –
he's on my list.
Was he a Ball State transfer as well?
He was at Ball State last year. I don't know where he is this year. I only have –
He's at Cincinnati.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so you're going to love him already.
Number one.
He's number one.
But fall, you can catch me on Mrs. Irrelevant. I'm sure that I'll be on Bengals and Brews if they will have me throughout the draft season. But absolutely love being here for this. So
and we play each other. The Bengals play the Packers. So this is going to be my guy that I'm like,
I'll say it's AFC North. Yep. It'll be good.
We're going to talk shit. I'm not a big shit talker because, hey, I just lose all hope after one loss. I'm like, nope, we're done. It's over. I'd just rather be negative, set my sights low, so anything good that happens, it happens.
Well,
but no,
I found
maybe
myself
I'll be in the mood to talk shit.
I found myself in the company of way too many Bengals and Browns fans on like draft Twitter. So this year with the AFC North and NFC North going at it, it's a lot of that. Like, oh, Browns and Bengals are playing the Packers. Let's have some conversations here. Plus, Ohio State's playing Wisconsin this year, so that'll be an absolute bloodbath for me. I'll have to endure that. Heather was already talking to me about that.
Beat that ass. Yeah, Ryan, when you start a draft podcast, Newt will be there. Don't worry. He will be actually waiting for your first episode. He will just be in the room. That's how
Love
it
it.
is.
Love it.
Yeah, and Terrence Carter, a guy I got to watch. So anybody that tuned in or anybody listening to this in podcast form, appreciate it. Give Newt a follow. Great dude. And appreciate you guys tuning in.